We're going to get started, everyone. And the first thing I'm going to do is have Patricia mute herself, and I'm going to share my presentation that just gives you a little bit of background about the Lunch and Learn and who our partners are, because our partners are really, really important to us. So this is the 2020 Brown Bag Lunch and Learn series. This is almost the final Lunch and Learn. We have one more to go this season, and we're really excited. And we're also getting ready to meet tomorrow to talk about 2021's Brown Bag series. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. Feel free to email them to me, email them to Hannah, or when you get the follow-up email in a couple of days. We also have a survey on there, and there's a section for you to put in topics that you want to see for next year's Lunch and Learn. And so our partners are the City of Birmingham Stormwater Management, Jefferson County Stormwater Program, Leeds, Alabama, the city, Stormwater Management Authority, Alabama Green Industry Training Center, Alabama Cooperative Extension, and the Jefferson County Department of Health. And along with them is my organization, the Friends of Birmingham Botanical Gardens. So I didn't change the poster this time, but the poster today is mulch better. Grass clippings make free food. So if you're cutting your grass and you're wondering why you're getting little patches here and there or trying to find a solution for it, just think about leaving some of your grass clippings along those patches. It is very good for your yard, and it's free. You don't have to go buy anything that might get into your our groundwater or our rainwater, and it'll help your grass grow. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today. Today is Patricia Tate, and she's going to speak on native plant perennials. So Patricia has loved gardening since she was a child, helping her dad with her family vegetable garden. She's done everything from planting to tilling, weeding, and harvesting. She also learned to love nature as a Girl Scout, and she's been a member for over 60 years. She went camping as a scout and also with her family, and has always enjoyed the trees, flowers, bees, bugs, and butterflies that she saw on those trips. She loves learning, and after going to college, earned the native plant certification from here, as well as became a master gardener with Jefferson County, right, Patricia? So she's a Jefferson County master gardener. She's currently pursuing her advanced master gardener certification. Patricia volunteers as a team leader with the Native Plant Group at the Birmingham Botanical Gardens, where she propagates and cultivates native plants for the annual plant sale. She is passionate about native plants and the wildlife they support. Today, Patricia will share some things she has learned about native plant perennials and recommend some plants you can put in your own yard that are beautiful and support wildlife. And a lot of these pictures are from your yard. Am I correct, Patricia? So she's going to be showing you exactly what she has in her yard that can actually grow in your yard too. So I think that's going to be really cool. And I'm just excited for this presentation. So without further ado, here's Patricia Tate.
Hey everybody, I'm going to try to figure out how to do this Zoom thing. So let's see. I need to share somehow. Oh, here it is. Okay. I can't figure out how to start it. I did the share screen, but I can't figure it. Oh, wait a minute, there it is. Found it. Sorry about that, guys. I just am so excited to share with you all about the native plant perennials. My passion for the native plants, growing them and encouraging others to do the same, began while I went through that native plant certification process. I started adding them to my landscape and noticed that the more native plants I added to my yard, which included host plants, the more varieties and numbers of butterflies I observed. I have also seen an increase in native bees, and some of which I had never seen before, and migratory birds as well. So at times, my yard actually looks like flying flowers everywhere, but it's always alive with the sounds of wildlife, which soothes my soul. So you might ask, why natives? Well, the USDA Forest Service have given us some great reasons. They do not require fertilizers, require fewer pesticides than lawns. They require less water than lawns and help prevent erosion. They help reduce air pollution. They provide shelter and food for wildlife. They promote the biodiversity and stewardship of our natural heritage. But what I'm going to talk to you today about is that native plants are beautiful and they increase the scenic values. Why use botanical names? I have heard this question so many times. Well, we use scientific plant names or botanical plant names to avoid confusion, since they are international language of sorts. Sometimes they change, but it's still best to use the botanical name. And an example is a bleeding heart. Here's some photos of bleeding hearts. This one is the Asian bleeding heart, Dicentra spectabilis. And this is the native bleeding heart, Dicentra eximia. As you can see, they're very different plants. And if you just said, I want a bleeding heart, you really wouldn't know what you're asking for, nor would the person who is selling you or giving you the plant would know what you're asking for. And this is just one example of many. There are many other bleeding hearts across the world, and they all look different. So you may also ask, what's the difference between invasive, non-native, and native? Well, invasive is a non-native organism whose introduction causes or is likely to cause economic or environmental harm, or harm to human, animal, or plant health. A non-native occurs outside their natural range, which could be as far as another country or as near as a different region of the same country. But unlike invasive, they may not hinder or prevent the survival of others with the same ecosystem. And some examples are wheat, tomatoes, rice. But natives have formed a symbiotic relationship with native wildlife over thousands of years and offer the most sustainable habitat. They occur naturally in a particular region, ecosystem, or habit without human introduction. And these are some of what I'd like to share with you today. So I'm going to talk to you about some native plants for our area. This is our fall feature plant. We worked really hard all spring and summer propagating this plant to have a ton for sale at the fall plant sale. So please be sure to pick this plant up. It's very easy to grow. It likes the shade. And it actually, to me, sort of glows in the dark because of the blue, purplish blooms that there are. You can't really tell in these photos, but they just really stand out. So it's a great plant to add to your shade garden. And as you can see, the bees love it. And here's some other pictures of it as well. And up in the upper left, you'll see that that is what they look like in any other time they're not blooming. So it's still a great ground cover. They are just an absolute wonderful plant, and everyone should have one of these in their yard. Or maybe 3 or 5, whatever. The next one is called Stokesia laevis peachies pick. This is a member of the aster family. And as you can see, this is also a bee favorite. It likes full sun, medium watering, and is very low maintenance. And some great things about it is it tolerates rabbits and drought. And here's one picture of it in a landscape setting. And here's another. The next plant's called Coreopsis pulchra. It loves the sun and very dry conditions. It grows naturally in rock outcrops. I know a lot of times I hear people say, well, gosh, my yard is full of rocks and chert and everything else. My sister just built a house, and the subsoil that she has underneath the topsoil is nothing but a chert yard. So I'm having to work with her to find some things that'll grow great in rocky areas, and this is one of them. The next plant is Echinacea purpurea. Now, it is a favorite among pollinators. As you can see, I have bees and a butterfly on this. It makes a great statement in any landscape, and you can either group it in clumps as a specimen plant, or you can mix it with other flowers. It likes sun, part shade, and dry conditions. And here it is mixed with the peachies pick that we saw a while ago and the Coreopsis pulchra as well. This plant, Eutrochia maculatum gateway. It is, of course, a pollinator favorite. It loves full sun and medium to wet conditions. It's very showy, but it's a great plant because it tolerates deer and it can handle clay soil or wet soil. It's a perfect plant for rain gardens. Monarda fistulosa. It's a very showy plant that is a pollinator favorite. It's found in dryish soils on prairies, dry rocky woods, and unplanted fields. You can also trim this one back when the blooms are spent and it will bloom again. And here it is in a couple of landscape settings. The next plant I'm going to talk to you about is Regia maxima. Now, this plant gets super tall, but boy, does it make a statement. These yellow blooms just shine. It's like it grabs the sun down to the ground. It'd be great planted in the middle of other plantings. It likes full sun and dry to medium water. It is deer and drought tolerant, and the chickadees and goldfinches absolutely love the seed heads. So sometimes when you have plants that grow seeds, it's best to just leave them for nature. My yard is a certified wildlife habitat, so I leave the seed heads in the yards for the wildlife. Lobelia cardinalis. This is a huge pollinator favorite. It's blooming actually right now during hummingbird season, which is very timely. And I watched this plant on the left, and the hummingbirds visited it every few minutes or so. It has a small rosette at the bottom, and in the summer it puts up this bloom spike. It likes sun and wet, and in the wild I have seen it actually growing along the edges of streams and rivers. I went to the Girl Scout Camp Coleman this past weekend, as a matter of fact, and I check it out every time I go there, and it comes back year after year right on the edge of the stream. Aquilegia canadensis. It can grow in the part shade or shade. However, I have it also in full sun, so it's a really versatile plant. The green leaves that you see here are also a wonderful ground cover. It's very showy and it can be dry or moist. And then in the spring, it sends up these spikes of flowers. This is one of my all-time favorite plants, Zizia aurea. It is one of the best plants to have in your yard. The bottom green that you see is evergreen, and in the summer, it puts up these clusters of yellow flowers. It also is a pollinator favorite, and it's a host plant for the eastern black swallowtail. It likes part shade and shade. However, this one is in full sun. It can tolerate dry or moist. So we sometimes have a little battle with this on whether it's a shade or a sun plant, but I grow it everywhere and it's happy. And here's a combination of the Aquilegia and Zizia in a garden along with some phlox. Passiflora incarnata is a vine that has these beautiful flowers which turn into an edible fruit. This is a host plant for the Gulf and other fritillaries, as well as the zebra longwing. I have mine planted in a backyard hillside that would otherwise be hard to landscape. I find that the Gulf fritillaries prefer the one on the ground actually to the one on a trellis. I just kind of let it go where it wants to, and it dies back in the winter and returns in the summer. Isn't that just an exquisite bloom, though? Asclepias tuberosa and Asclepias incarnata are plants that we always try to offer both in the spring and the fall plant sales. There are many other varieties, but we focus primarily on these. The Asclepias species is the only host plant for the monarch butterflies, which are in the area now preparing for their fall migration to Mexico. Silene regia is a beautiful plant in bloom right now. Because of its bright red color, it really stands out in a landscape environment. And another red beautiful plant is Hibiscus coccineus. It grows really tall. It likes full sun and part shade and medium to wet soil. But I guarantee you, you put this in your yard and your neighbors will stop and ask you what in the world it is. It really makes a statement. That bloom is huge. Penstemon calicosus is what I call the native version of foxglove because it grows in a similar way. This is a really easy plant to grow and tolerates a variety of habitats from rocky woods, woodland edges to stream banks and moist meadows. But it's not very drought tolerant. Everyone, though, should have one of these in their gardens. They really make a statement. And the bees love these plants and crawl all the way up into the tubes, is what I call them. So that's just a few of the plants that we grow and that we sell at this time of year. There are a host of others, as well as a completely different set of plants that you'll see at the spring plant sale. But I'd like to end with a story from Winnie the Pooh. "Say, Pooh, why aren't you busy?" I said. "Because it's a nice day," said Pooh. "Yes, but why ruin it?" he said. "But you could be doing something important," I said. "I am," said Pooh. "Oh, doing what?" "Listening," he said. "Listening to what?" "To the birds and that squirrel over there." "What are they saying?" I said. "That it's a nice day," said Pooh. "But you know that already," I said. "Yes, but it's always good to hear that somebody else thinks so too," he replied. So I say, on a nice day, go out to your gardens, listen to nature. And if nature is silent or not very loud, add you some native plants, and nature will sing for you. And that's the end. Stop sharing. Okay. And then start video.
Okay, I am back. And I have two questions in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. There's also a Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. So if you add them, I'll be able to see them and ask Patricia some questions. So Patricia Reynolds would like to know if you have a plant list that can be provided after the presentation.
The BBG is supposed to post an updated list later today. We did sell out of quite a few things.
Oh, you're still muted.
Oh, I am?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. The BBG is supposed to post a new updated list today. We did sell out of a lot of things during the pre-sale, but we still have plenty, I promise you. So, yeah, so you can get a list there.
She would also like to know if you can grow gateway from seeds.
No.
No. Okay. I have a question in the Q&A. Could you repeat what Silene regia likes, sun or shade?
It likes the sun pretty much. I don't think I have any. There's another Silene that likes the shade, Silene virginica, because I actually had those wild in my woods, but the Silene regia likes the sun.
Okay. Let me go back up a little bit. So Judy, well, first Lena says hi from Lena, Raleigh, and Savannah. I missed that one earlier.
Hey.
Christina said, great to see you from Chattanooga. Judy said, thanks. Patricia Putnam said, great presentation. Flowers are beautiful and I need some of each. Thank you, Patricia.
Good.
Who is this? Catherine Corey said, what types of soils are best for native plants you shared today?
Whatever you have in your yard. They do not like rich soil for the most part. It's just better not to amend it at all.
Okay. Susan Cleach said, you have a wonderful yard. Thanks for your presentation. Sandra Jones is I'm going to say this completely wrong. Echinacea purpurea?
Oh, Echinacea purpurea.
The same
yes,
as a coneflower?
Yes, it is. And I need to back up to that previous question as well. I wanted to give credit to some of these landscape photos that I have are from Gail Snyder's yard and Betty Anderson's yards. So I'm newer on the block when it comes to landscaping. Mine are the close-up pictures that you'll see, that you saw. Those are from my yard.
And I definitely need to brush up on my Latin. Devon Ellis said, great presentation. Thank you from another master gardener. Patty Warren says, good morning, Patricia. Good to see you. Did I say that one earlier? I think I did. I'm missing a message.
Agreed, Hannah.
We should plan for a native plant tour to see these plants in person. That comes from Hannah.
Yeah, and actually sometimes we do that. I know Sally has had a tour before, and I know Betty and Gail have had tours for our local native plant group.
Yeah.
Mine isn't quite there yet, but I will have a tour one day.
And you have new rain barrels.
Oh, I have rain barrels. I love my rain barrels. I have 3.
Linda said, thank you, Patricia. And we have one more question. Did you say that the varieties you mentioned are for planting now and that there are other varieties for planting in spring?
Yes. Now, some of the varieties we are selling this fall won't actually bloom until spring, but fall is absolutely the best time to plant because the roots have time to get acclimated so that they will put out a good flush of blooms in the spring. Sometimes if you wait till spring, it might be the following year before you'll get any blooms. So, but we do have a number of them that are spring blooming plants that we'll have for sale.
Barbara says, awesome, I feel inspired. Do we
All
have
right.
do we have any more questions or comments? We still have a while to go. So we are just now starting to have interest in planting native plants with our new homeschool situation. I wrote the names down so we can research more info and know how to spot them. Thank you so much. And I'm actually going to send you all a recording of this as well as a PDF of the PowerPoint. So if you didn't catch everything, you're going to get all of this information in a follow-up email and no later than 2 or 3 days. They've been really good about turning these back around.
Yeah, and everybody, when you go hiking anywhere, whether it be in your own yard, like one of the things that we did this past year is I have a backyard that's fenced in, but then there's like woodlands back behind my fence. And we have ventured there before, but this year we went even a little further. We found a stream and tons of plants that we didn't even know were back there. So I would just encourage you to look around because you would really be surprised that some of the things you may walk right past on your pathway are beautiful native plants that you might not see the next time you go back. So enjoy them.
And don't forget that you can always come out to the gardens. We are open from sun up to, I think, 6 o'clock now with COVID. It's either 6 or 7. And we're free to the public every day. We're even open on holidays. So if you are out this holiday that's coming up Monday, is it Labor Day? Monday, I believe. We're going to be open. So if you don't feel like sitting at home, you can always come out here and stretch your legs and look at our native plant garden and our bog garden. The bog is the place to be right now. I have another question. Do spring planted varieties bloom in spring?
Yes, there's some that you plant in the spring that will bloom in summer as well.
Hannah says, you did terrific. Come visit the native plant group at the sale. They will give you all the information you need to have success. She's gonna hop off because she has Alabama Water Watch training. But
she's a busy girl.
She said you did great. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments, anyone? Okay, Denise says, I'm in a subdivision and have terrible soil. Do I need to do anything to my ground to encourage the native plants?
Well, you need to do a soil test, as everybody does, so that you at least know what you have to work with and which native plants will work in that particular area. Because as I mentioned in the presentation, there are some that like really rocky soil, but then there are others that wouldn't do well in that area. So you still need to know what you have. It will just determine which plants will grow well there.
Can you tell them how to get a soil test? Or do you want me to tell them?
I know that, yeah, you tell them. I'm afraid I'll tell them wrong, but I know it sends off to Auburn, and I know how to take a soil test.
Yes, so I don't know if everyone knows this, but we have a Alabama Cooperative Extension office as well as, do they call it a pathology lab? Well, a lab here where if you have any type of issues or plant disease or pest disease, you can bring in a sample to our lab and they'll test it. And they also carry soil tests or soil kits, and they can be found downstairs in our main entrance of the garden center right now. If you come in through the main entrance, which is the door, it's farther down left, past Leaf and Petal gift shop. If you're coming, that's the main entrance. When you walk in, there's going to be an opening with someone sitting to your right. you're going to walk past them to a table, and there is soil kits as well as places where you can leave samples of any plants that you need to get diagnosed at the lab. They're not seeing anybody in person right now, but you can leave stuff and they'll get back in contact with you, and they have like a little form that you fill out to give you all the information. And the soil kits come with a handout that lets you know exactly what to do and who to send it to. And we now have 2 questions. Allison says she loved the Pooh reference. He is so wise. And Louise wants me to repeat the dates of the sale. So the member sale is going to be September the 11th. And let me double check the time on that. But the public sale for people who are not members is going to be Saturday, September the 12th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Patricia, do you know what
I
time
think
it is?
it's 4 to 5:30 if I remember right, but I'm not positive.
Okay, I'm just double checking, everyone. So the member priority sale is Friday, September 11th from 4 p.m. to 5:30. See, you knew better than I did. So please come out and see us those days. If you're members, come out on that Friday if you can. And Saturday is going to be 8 to 12, and it's going to be all hands on deck. So you should be able to see almost every person who works with the Friends group that day. Mary says, thanks, Patricia. Awesome job. Fabulous photos that should get us all inspired to grow more natives. And there's one above her. Christina says, thanks, Don and Patricia. Great information and photos. So any other questions? Any other comments? We're here for a little bit longer if you need us.
I could have shown way more, but I was afraid I would go over on my time, so.
You did perfect.
Okay, good.
And I think Pooh was a great way to end it. So I'm not seeing any other questions, and we're having people drop off.
Okay.
So, I did not mean to do that. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We have one more Lunch and Learn series, which we're going to try and get confirmed speakers for you all so we can share with you who will be coming out to speak. Again, we ask that you fill out our survey at the end when I send out the follow-up with the recording, because there is a section for you to put in topic suggestions for next year, and then there's also a section for you to ask questions so we can know what experts we need for our Ask the Experts panel, which is coming up, and it's going to be our last Lunch and Learn for 2020. And we just want to thank y'all again for joining us. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for sharing your flowers.
Thank you so much.
And we will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.